All cultures in the world have a basket tradition. Every part of life, there were baskets being used because that was before plastic was developed. So baskets were in every part of life, and the idea of being able to climb a coconut tree, chop off a palm frond, and immediately weave a plate. That, I just thought that was fantastic when I saw that in Tahiti. Whatever angle you're coming at it from, no matter where you live or what your background is, you can come at it from any direction and find a way to be creative and have fun with it. My name is Joan Carrigan, and I'm a basket maker. I live on Salt Spring Island and am very fortunate to have an abundance of materials here that are beautiful for making baskets. I'm also very lucky to be able to sustainably harvest things like willow, which I can grow myself. And the beauty of willow is when you cut it, it grows back. So it provides me with material every year. And I don't harvest in the traditional way, cedar bark, of taking a strip from a living standing tree, because I'm not First Nations. So that's what's drawn me to willow bark. It's beautiful. I grow about 10 different varieties of willow, so I get different colors and textures from it. And like I say, it's sustainable. A traditional willow basket maker would cut all of their willow down to the ground. They would coppice it down to the ground in winter when it's dormant. Whereas because I like the bark, I let some of that willow grow a second or third year. And it grows really fast, so they become trees, basically. Right now, we're at the beginning of August, for example. We're just at the tail end of being able to harvest bark. That's what I'm harvesting this time of year, is the larger willow that I've allowed to grow second or third year. So this willow here is 2, 3, 4-year-old willow that's perfect for bark harvest. That's cut now, and the bark will be peeled off, these large pieces. And then down here, is the willow that will be cut in January and February for weaving baskets with. This is all new growth just from this spring. And this is a beautiful classic bed of willow. Baskets are so elemental to the rhythm of life that I think we take them for granted. I certainly did, but it's understandable because baskets have been used for foraging food from the beginning of time. We use them to store our food, we've used them for transportation, we use them to hold our precious belongings. They touch every part of our life, and yet we often take them for granted. So that's why I love them so much. I had a aha moment that really brought them into my consciousness, and I really wanted to explore them further because of that. It's really important to me that I highlight the importance, the beauty of nature in a basket. It's another way for people to access and appreciate the environment around us. So the material is a driving force in my basketry. And I love the quote that a basket need hold nothing but your attention. That's so beautiful. I don't want to cut it into strips, so I may keep that and double it and cut it here for another project. So each piece offers its own individual beauty and potential. So I'll put this aside rather than cutting it into strips. In the process of weaving, what I find is it is very focusing. You're using your cognitive, your hands. It's emotional, it's spiritual. I just find it all encompassing, and it can be very healing. In the past, basket making has been used as occupational therapy for post-traumatic stress. It's not surprising that it's recognized as a healing process. This piece happens to have a beautiful feature where a branch was growing on the piece of willow. So I'm going to feature this on the front of the backpack. This is going to be a backpack. And so this has to be on an overspoke here. So I'll work backwards. There's just something about working with your hands, learning step by step and creating something throughout the day that is magical to see the transformation in people and how powerful the actual act of weaving with your hands can be. I think any creative pursuit, whether it's pottery or knitting, is very healing and calming, and I think that's why people are drawn to it. Some of the work that I do is not even in containers. So I do a series with cordage that hang on the wall, for example. And they also highlight and incorporate little pieces of nature that are not necessarily easy to incorporate into a basket, but can be incorporated into a wall piece. Community here on Salt Spring has been amazing, especially in the basket community that I've developed. When I started teaching baskets, not long after I moved here, And I'd been just making baskets for 3 years at that point, but there weren't other basket makers here at the time. So I started teaching beginner baskets, and those early courses, the people who took those courses were super enthused and very encouraging. And eventually we started a basketry guild, and so we were able to expand our knowledge and exposure of basketry here on Salt Spring, because it's an easy place to draw people to. I studied fine art and art history at university, and my intention was to become an art librarian. And before I went back to get my master's in library science, I decided to travel for a year in the South Pacific. On that trip, I kept coming across the different cultures in Tahiti, New Zealand, Australia. I kept coming across baskets and how I could see that they were woven by hand with the local plant material. And I was back in Toronto. There was an international basketry conference happening, and that was in 1991. I literally just wanted to satisfy a curiosity, how are baskets made? Now on day 2 of that conference, I took a workshop with Dorothy Gill Barnes. And to this day, she is my favorite artist. She worked predominantly with bark and wood, but she became a friend and a mentor over the years, and I really treasured her encouragement and the inspiration from her work. Dorothy was known for this box that she always had with her when she taught her workshops. It was full of these little treasures, little experiments. And it was meant to just inspire her students to experiment with materials in new ways. And what was so humorous is that the box she used was an old bandsaw blade box. And as soon as you opened the lid, it was like this light came out of this, full of inspirations. It's hard to put into words how influential she was for me. What an incredible human being she was. What was surprising in a way to me is how much I love teaching. So I started to teach workshops, and that has really become my predominant focus, really. I mean, I make baskets and I'm harvesting materials, but I love teaching. I love sharing my passion for basketry. I'm focusing a lot of my time on designing baskets that I can teach and preparing for workshops. Basketry has a certain connotation to it. Some students would tell me that they were embarrassed to tell their co-workers that they were coming to a basket workshop on the weekend. And over the years, I guess I've been teaching now for 30 years or 29 years. There has been a big shift more recently in the interest. Basketry, weaving, using plant materials, there's a huge interest in that these days, and all ages. And it's so wonderful to see younger people coming to learn how to make baskets. It's so refreshing for me, and I'm loving working with a few excellent weavers here who live on Salt Spring. They come and help me harvest and hang out with me, and I'm hoping that I'm sharing and passing on what I can to them, but I feel I get as much back from them as well. I know it's going to continue the interest, and it's a art form that will, we'll see where it goes. It's exciting and it's ever evolving. After 30 years now of exploring basket making and different traditions and different materials, and I'm still learning, I find that the beauty of trees, I think it's just, I was always drawn to the forest. I'm so fortunate to live on Salt Spring Island, where the climate and vegetation offers a bountiful source of material, which in turn provides me with endless inspiration to be able to use that material in ways that highlight the beauty of nature, find ways of creating pattern and form with this incredible material. The material really dictates its path to a three-dimensional form. So working with these materials is a process of discovery and collaboration. And to find the perfect balance between exercising control over the material and then allowing its own characteristics and presence to come through in the finished piece. Nature provides the inspiration, and I just wait for the next calling, the next material to present itself and find a way to incorporate it into a piece.